Live right now. Awesome, awesome. So, SuccessGrid Nation, hello and welcome to this live episode of the SuccessGrid podcast. In this episode, I have with me his teacher said he would never amount to anything from straight D's like me. Actually, I am minus D student. I don't know if that exists in other countries. So, who barely graduated high school to a businessman living an extraordinary life of unlimited possibilities. Jonathan Rivera is one on a mission to light up the world through podcasting. Jonathan, welcome to the SuccessGrid podcast.
Brother, thank you for having me on the show. I'm excited that we're going live, and I hope that I can light up the SuccessGrid Nation.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sure you will. We will. So first of all, I want you to tell us your story, your background, because these students or those D students like me and you. So there is actually, I once read an article about these are the students that actually in a way that are more innovative and more creative than A students, because A students stay a lot of time just studying, basically memorizing. So what was your take when you started thinking that you want to go into business?
I never thought I wanted to go into business because my parents didn't teach me that. My parents taught me to get a trade. And that was the highest hope they had for me, was to be a tradesman. In other words, a construction worker. That's all that was really in the cards for me. And some people say, hey, you were such a rebel in high school. You didn't do your work. You skipped class. You didn't do any homework, and you made it out. And no, I wasn't a rebel. I was a reject. I rejected everything they tried to teach me. I rejected all that the teachers tried to instill in me, and I rejected the whole school system, which turned out to be, as you said, my advantage in life, because since I rejected everything they tried to teach me, I was able to expand my thinking to see bigger things. But originally I was an electrician. I spent 9 years in the hot Florida sun working, building some of the theme parks out here in Orlando. I actually worked on those things, and the whole time thinking, I hate this. I hate this. Is this all there is?
Well, it is hot summer days there, so nobody would like to do that. So
yeah, I was melting, man, and thinking, is this it? Is this all I was put on this earth for? And like I said, I almost did it for a decade, and it wasn't until my mom passed away where I started questioning everything. Is this what I want to do? Is this where I want to be? Is this the impact that I'm going to have on the world? And I realized it wasn't. And I jumped into real estate because here in the States, real estate's a great equalizer. Anybody can get into real estate. All you have to do is have money and have deals, and you can be creative about how you get both. And I was able to get into real estate, build a business, make money, lose every little bit of it and more, come out in debt, and then rebuild again. And that's actually how you and I ended up talking, is because I rebuilt that real estate business, that's up and running, and then I wanted to diversify. So I created an online business or an internet business that has led us to where we are today.
Awesome. So now, do you believe, because most of us, when we go into business, especially online, because we think that it's easier, we know that it's like there is almost no barrier to entry, right? Online, that does not exist like when it's compared to brick and mortar businesses. But did you think that I am here to make money, or did you think that I am here that I wanna teach more people, get the knowledge and spread this to people? Is taking and giving has to do with the thought of business?
Yeah, and I am, man, what a good question too. I'm sad to say that I got a line to make money. Make money online sounded sexy to me. And I think that is the reason that it took me so long to succeed, because I had the wrong mindset about wanting to take instead of wanting to give. And nowadays I realize, oh, that was dumb. I wish I would have realized that a lot earlier. But the fact is that you can't take if you haven't put anything into it. And so now I spend my entire life, everything I do, what gets me out of bed is pouring into the people I work with, pouring into my team, pouring into my clients, pouring into interviews so that I can help the people listening to us live a better, more fulfilled life.
Yeah, amazing. So now, what do you think in general? How can people live a better lives? Like they should go for the money, because we know that, for example, money can solve, I don't want to say like 100% of the problem, but at least can solve 95% of the problem. So what they should be looking for to see a better life and a better business for themselves?
So that's one of my mentors says that it isn't a problem if you can write a check. So like you're saying, money solves lots of problems, but going into business, there's a lot of misinformation. And one of the biggest pieces of misinformation out there is follow your passion and you'll get paid. That's not true. That is bad advice. If your passion is sitting around playing Call of Duty, I highly doubt that you're going to get paid doing that unless you're really, really good. And I'm going to tell you, these kids are much, much better than you. I promise you that. So us old guys, we can't do that. But the real advice that should be out there but isn't is get passionate about solving problems. And get passionate about solving those problems and do everything you can to solve those problems. And that's what I'm teaching my son now. Is my father-in-law, he tells us, you gotta pick a line of study for your kid. You got to pick a profession. Kid's 8 years old. What am I going to pick for him? Right? He's like doctor, a lawyer. What? He's 8 years old. Come on. I can't pick that for him. What I do is tell him, look for a problem and solve that problem. And I try to encourage him to do that around the house. Oh, you want more Nintendo time? Well, figure out something that you can help us with here, fix that, and then you'll earn some Nintendo. So I'm trying to teach him to be a problem solver. And so that's where I believe the real passion play is. Get passionate about solving a problem that you can solve. And the problem I can solve is different than the problem you can solve, but I'm certainly passionate about mine. So I want you to be passionate about yours. And that is how you get relentless in executing. And then the money comes from doing that.
Yeah, I love this concept and this idea, because in general, the idea is to have passion. But like you mentioned, it's like some kind of a generalized concept. You have to be more specific into certain things and giving people the solutions and the resolutions that they actually want. And sometimes they don't know they have a problem. You have to figure that out and give the solution and resolution to them. So that's an amazing concept and outlook into how to start, or passion that would give people a different view on how to look into business actually. Yeah, amazing. So I want to ask you about so this relates to, is repetition equals reputation? So is it that the more we do things, the more we are known about it? Is that true?
The idea is, I'm still working through how to define this perfectly, but the idea is, I have a show. It's called Results Leader. And one of the things that I've realized in speaking to 170 plus experts on that show is high on the values list is integrity. Integrity is so high on the list. I would say that 99% of them that have been on the show have called that a core value. And part of integrity is showing up. And this is going to seem silly. And you guys can reject this if you want at your own peril. But showing up and doing what you said you were going to do. Because there's a lot of people out there making big promises. They don't deliver on those promises, and they're fooling people into doing business with them. And eventually their reputation's ruined. So the way to success, in my opinion, is repetition. And repetition in doing what you say you're going to do. Repetition in getting better and better and better at solving problems. Repetition in making yourself better. And however you do that, whether it's through reading, whether it's through listening to this podcast, whether it's through being in masterminds, those are the things. Getting your reps in over and over again equals a reputation. And it could be good, it could be bad. You get to choose your own adventure.
Exactly. Repetition and consistency is very important. But sometimes people, what they do is like they don't start to begin with, right? So like they are keep saying to themselves like, when is the right time to start, for example, this business or this side hustle or whatever. But do you think that there is certain time, exact time for that, to wait for the right time? Because as we saw in the past years, especially with the COVID now, when the COVID came suddenly, nobody knew about it in the world, and everything, basically the whole world stopped and paused for unannounced and unknown period of times. So what do you say to these people?
Okay, here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to sit down if you're not already sitting down. Get yourself a pen and paper, because this is going to be something special. There is no right time. The time is right now. Quit wasting time. There's never a right time, because we're always going to put it off. There's never ever going to be a right time. We're going to come up with 1,000 excuses why we can't do something. And that's why I always say there is no right time. The time is right now. If you want something, and you got to really want it, you're going to go out and get it right now. If you don't have what you want, here's something that's going to open your eyes. If you don't have what you want, it's because you don't really want it. Because if you did, you'd get out and do something about it.
Exactly. So you personally, how do you handle these thoughts if they come into you, like that you want to do something? Sometimes you kind of, your mind says that, yeah, let's postpone it, Jonathan. So how do you deal with that personally?
Bro, it ain't easy. I'm the first to admit that I will put things off. I will overthink sometimes, and part of that is being aware and having the right people around you and having some accountability in place to make you do some things. There's this idea I call the law of borrowed belief, and we are our own toughest critics. We're the ones that will hold us back the most, because of the weird self-talk that we have in our head. And that's normal. We all have it. It's an evolutionary thing that tries to protect us from being hurt. Now, the thing is, you're going to have to take risks. You're going to have to do things that scare you. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. And even if you don't think you can do it, you have to be around other people who will help lift you up, who will help get you unstuck. And this is what I call the law of borrowed belief. Even if you don't believe in yourself, you ought to be surrounded by people who do believe in you, who do think more of you, who want to lift you up. You borrow their belief and you overcome these things. So for me, journaling is one part of it, writing down and looking at my thoughts. The other part is having my wife as my business partner. She believes in me more than I believe in me half the time. That helps lift me up. And I'm also in masterminds where I'm usually, anytime I try to get into a room of a mastermind, I try to be the smallest little business owner so that everybody is like much bigger than me, so I can aspire to be like them. And those people are like, oh, hey, why aren't you doing this? I'm like, you think I can do that? Of course you can do that. I borrow their belief and do something new. Borrowed belief is the key to break through all plateaus in your life.
Exactly. And also, when you're speaking there, like you mentioned, you are being a part of masterminds. Other than there are some family members, like your wife is supporting you basically, and she's part of the business. So how important do you think, I don't want to say only masterminds, in general, groups with people who are similar minded, how would that drive success in business or also in life, and will get people that are involved in these groups the push that they need? Because sometimes we can only go alone so far, right?
Yeah. And this is one of the pieces of advice that I wish I would have had 20, 25 years ago. If there was just one piece of advice I could give myself 20 years ago, it would be to get around better people. And the thing is, we are so lucky right now, because all we have to do here is grab a library card, go to the library and pick up a biography. I mean, you're around a better person, around better thinking. It costs you nothing. And as we progress, as we have successes and as we have more money, then we can invest in coaching, or courses and get around better thinking, better people, elevate our game. And then as we get further along, we have to look for bigger investments to be in better rooms around better people. And that's when you start getting into masterminds and tens of thousands of dollars. But you don't start there. You work your way up. Like this podcast right now, you get to listen to this free. You're getting this pep talk right now for free. There's no excuse not to do something with this other than you don't really want it.
Exactly. So in your opinion, like you mentioned, reading books. So because nowadays, in general, like we know there's the evolution of the e-books and these kind of things. Uh, do you think this generation, for example, are away from reading in general? Like we were talking about earlier about school and universities and how important grade is or not important. So reading outside of school or outside of university campus, that I believe is much more important than actually having a college degree, because in general these courses or these materials are given to us to only get certain degree in certain marks and go beyond these marks, and that's it. The next day you forget everything. But when you are focused on your personal growth, you do it yourself. You read books, you read magazines related, maybe you listen to podcasts and watch YouTube and learn from other people. This means that you are serious about your own personal success and growth.
You nailed it, right? Because in school, you're given the curriculum,
Yeah,
you're given the exam. What you're not given is a choice.
exactly.
And you're doing what you're supposed to do to get the grade. And I know this because I hear it from my wife all the time. She went through school, got her MBA and everything. And she says she put everything in just enough to get through the test, and then boom, gone. And I think, wow, that's incredible, because I could never do that, especially when I was young. I just didn't care. Remember, I rejected everything. And the difference is wanting it. I want it. I want to get better every single day. And the only way I'm going to get better every single day is to be more curious. And I think this is the key to success, is lifelong curiosity. If you're interested in something, if something gets your attention, allow yourself the grace and the time to dive into it. Some of it will be useful and you can put it to work in your life and in your business. Some of it will be total nonsense and you can say, what a waste of time, and move on. But the thing is, the eternal curiosity keeps you reading, keeps you listening to podcasts, keeps you watching YouTube videos, so that you can find those little pieces of information that do help you and assimilate them into your life, so that you can live that life, like we talked about, of limitless possibilities.
Definitely, exactly. So now we talked about masterminds group. So is it like about who we know, or is it about who knows us, to have like this magic success in business?
Man, that is it's a funny thing, because we hear it all the time. It's about who you know that gives you opportunities. That's why people go to Ivy League schools, to get connected with the right families and the right people. And it's about who you know in business. But I think those two things work together. It's kind of like breathing. Think about it. Could you just exhale? You'll die, right? You're going to die. Could you just inhale? What then? What? You're going to die. You need both of them. You need who you know. You need to know the right people that can help elevate you. And you need people to know you so that they want to help you. So I think they're two sides of the same coin.
No, it's like about the concept that we talked about. It's a give and take situation, where it's about life in general. The more I actually interviewed someone earlier on my podcast, he was saying that the more that you give, the more that you will receive. But I think, me personally, with intention, not just general giving to some people, you might think that they don't deserve it. I don't know, maybe. So yeah, that's so what are your, let's say, basic, let's say, or the tools or resources that you would use personally for your business to help you with your business itself, with your clients, how you help your clients do certain things?
I am going to take your question and flip it around a little bit. Let's talk about the most important tool that I use, and that's my morning ritual. Okay. And this is important for so many reasons. So I start my day with faith. I like to read the Bible. I like to get good, positive messages in my head. I like to start filling. So I start with what I call my morning stack, which includes the Bible. It includes some Zig Ziglar. I'm looking at it right here because I do my work right here. The Daily Stoic, Ryan Holiday, the Daily Laws from Robert Greene. So I start my morning before my family, before anything, in prayer and in reading and filling my mind up with good things. And what this does is it allows me to be grateful for the day. It allows me to reflect. It fills me up with goodness. So then what's after that is family time. Okay. So family time, whether I'm taking my kid to school or I'm making breakfast, family time comes after my faith time. So now I've got faith. Now I've got family. And after that, I go into fitness time, whether I'm lifting weights, going for a walk, doing some yoga. I do a little bit of exercise. And at the time that we're talking right now, I have exercise for 30 minutes per day for 716 consecutive days. I'm going for 2 years. And so check this out. I have family. I fill myself, or faith. I fill myself spiritually. I had my family time. Boom, got that in right early in the day. Now I've taken care of fitness. So I've been taking care of all my needs before I get to work. I start work at 11 o'clock. So now I have taken care of myself. I've done all the things I wanted to do. When I show up to work, I am focused and ready to take action. And so if we're talking about tools, the best tool that I can recommend to you is a good morning routine that lets you take care of everything you need before you take care of other people.
That's amazing, actually, because when you have your, like you mentioned, you're spiritually filled and you are relationship filled, I think. So when you are going to do certain things that day, like you are a businessman, you have to do and finish your job and your tasks. So you will get them done and you are laser focused because you are filled with this energy that God pumped you in the morning early. So you have this energy to go and, let's say, conquer the world, I guess.
It's abundance. It's abundance. And in taking care of yourself, you can bring an abundant energy to everything you do afterwards. And here's another secret. So we talked about the morning ritual, right? Now, if you guys missed it, we also talked about calendar control and controlling that calendar so you have time to take care of yourself and the other things before you get into work. So those two pieces fit together, bring you abundance to your work. And then the other piece is limit your workday. I'm usually done by about 3 o'clock. So then you have a smaller time window to do the work. And that means there's no scrolling to TikTok. There's no watching this live. There's no any of that stuff till you get your work done. And then you reward yourself with those other things you want to do.
That's this kind of self-discipline actually requires a lot of like we talked about earlier, it's about consistency and commitment to self. So these things that actually, like, there is no overnight success. A lot of people who had great success had these things and qualities in for years until, like, we saw them under the lights. So people need to understand that things take some time, sometimes long years, sometimes short years, but as long as you are working towards it and you have consistency to it, it will actually happen.
The law of reps, right? It's the law of reps. And the thing is, give yourself some grace because it will change. If you're thinking the same thing that you were thinking a year ago, then you haven't grown and you have a problem. So my morning routine, which I've described to you, wasn't always the morning routine. This is where it is today. And I can't say that a year from now, it's going to be the same. Maybe the books will change. Maybe the process will change, but you will adapt. You will change. But the thing is to stay consistent in doing it, and those changes will come naturally.
Yeah, exactly. Like you mentioned, if you are a year from now, is this still the same? Do you think that this fear, there are a lot of kind of fear, like for example, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear. So why do we as humans like keep this fear like, oh, and we talked about it's everything is within ourselves. So why even fear success? Why would I mind success having more, whatever it is that you want, money or whatever the goal, the end goal is?
This goes back to, I think, getting yourself around better people and about better thinking. Because we grew up however we grew up. I told you, the most that my parents aspired me to was to have a trade. That was what they knew. That was a limitation to their thoughts. I remember my dad always talking about, we can't have that, I'm broke. He still uses that word, and I know he's not broke. It's this bad programming that we're dealt with, and it's not, I mean, people are doing the best they can. So let's give them a little bit of grace. But just because that's the best that your parents thought or that your teachers thought, that doesn't mean that's the best that you can be. So you have to unlink yourself from that bad programming, get around better people, get around better thinking, and start elevating your game. And sure, you're going to hit those roadblocks, and that's self-sabotage. I still do it. I am still guilty of it, where I will get myself into a pickle, self-sabotage, bad programming. Luckily, I journal every day so I can start backtracking and looking, where did I go wrong? But it's a matter of bad programming. And here is the gift that I'm going to give you today. Programming is a choice. Wipe that hard drive clean, put a new program in it.
Yeah, exactly. That's should be, everyone should do that, because we should pause and think how we grew up and how things got life in our way, because eventually life will hit you in the face, and like the Rocky said, it keep knocking you down, and you should get up. So you should never stay down. You should get up and do something about it, because nobody else will if it doesn't start within self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So exactly. So what, like, do you think some books that you personally would recommend to people, like 1, 2, or 3 most important books that you would think will change everything for people, especially in business?
I'm going to give you one book, and it's one book because there's a lot of principles in it that can apply to your life, to your business, to everything we talked about today. And when I read this book, I liked it so much. I read it about 8 times, and then I started buying copies for it for my team. And in fact, it's one of the core values that we believe in our business. And the book is called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Absolutely fabulous book. And if you really want to enjoy it, since you're listening to this podcast, you probably like to listen, get the audiobook. It is so much better. It is so much better to hear Jocko talk and hear all the sound effects and really get the experience. So I would say that book, because there are so many principles in there that you can apply to life and to business and to everything you do.
Yeah, exactly. So do you think that there is something that you can add to at the end of this conversation, like some kind of a takeaway for people?
Yeah. If you're here right now, it's for a reason. If you're listening to these words, something brought you here. And what I'm going to say to you is, number 1, go give this show a review. All right. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, give the show a review, because these conversations are what I live for. And I have this saying, the right word from the right person at the right time can change your life. And that's why we're talking today, is because it's not just for us talking to each other. It's for you listening, to give you a new idea, a new perspective, so that you can go out and get a new result. And here's the challenge. Go out and do something. Just take one little thing that you heard today and use it. And I promise you that that is the first step you're going to take to changing your life.
Yeah, amazing, Jonathan. Well, thank you for being here today with me in this episode. Lovely to have you, and an amazing life we had here.
Brother, thanks for having me on the show. I loved it. And by
Awesome.
the way, we did talk about podcasting. Ha ha ha.